Start a meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here at the April 9th Master Plan Steering Committee meeting. If you are watching from at home, you can join the Zoom link on the agenda, and that will allow you to watch what's going on. Right. And there we are. So first thing we have going on, we're expecting attendance from Mike Rupp, but he said he may be late, so we will deal with that as it comes. And sorry, just getting my agenda back. We'll open up the meeting by opening with public comment. If anybody has anything they would like to contribute or say. I see we have a few members of the public here. If you would like to say anything, use the hand raise feature and we'll put you through.
Did we want to start the recording?
Start recording. Thank you
Better
very
late than
much.
Recording in progress.
Okay, now that we're actually recording and the meeting's officially running.
Mike, I'm actually all set. I was going to remind you to hit record. I'm
Yeah.
just here.
All right, thank you, Dave. How do I lower your hand? There we go. Okay, then we may as well jump right into this. Rami, if we could start with you and get an update from Over Under and see where we are at the moment. How do I make this full screen?
Hello, everyone.
Just a moment. Let me. Okay, try now.
Can you hear me?
No, because I just
There you
realized
go.
that I'm the only speakers coming through my laptop. All right, what are we going to do about this?
Maybe if the computer's in the middle. I know it's kind of hard for you to see,
That's fine. All right, Rami, give us a shot now.
Hi, can you hear me?
but a little bit.
A little
I'll try to speak as loudly as possible.
We have a thing there that we can.
I have no idea if it's up and working or any
I don't know if we got
idea.
this to work. Are they using the
Oh.
owl downstairs?
I touched it and it lit up and it's ready to make phone calls for me.
It's probably just
But-
connected to the phone. It's probably nowhere to like.
Yeah, I don't think it had, the only connection
Yeah.
it seems to have is for the phone right now.
If there's no meeting downstairs, we can grab the owl. I don't know if there's one down
You
there.
guys, just be aware you're loud and clear on Zoom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's just hard for us to hear the computer very clearly. Something's.
Probably do that.
Should I pick this up?
Yeah, why don't you try that?
all right, so here's what we're going to
Yeah.
do. We're going to.
I think we can hear you now.
Okay.
I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a 5-minute recess and we're going to move down to the lower room where we have the owl and proper speakers and some things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, so we will be back in 5 minutes.
Pack to make sure that the equipment can move okay.
Are we able to move downstairs?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep,
great.
that's fine.
You're recording
Yeah, we'll
on
turn
the
this
board.
on. Do this via Bluetooth on the phone. Someone can call into Zoom and use the speaker. No?
We'd also have to use that for the audio in, otherwise you're gonna get feedback from Tim's computer.
That's
as well.
fine.
Yeah,
I
well,
can mute
mute
mine.
isn't
Great, no, that's
Yeah.
fine. I just wanted to make sure we're aware of that.
All right.
Okay.
I have this set up on Bluetooth.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
All right, so you have that. Do you see it, Kim?
Yeah, it's
All right,
connected.
so are you gonna call him?
I'm connecting to the Zoom call.
But
That's
he's,
fine. Rami can talk through the
Okay.
Zoom call, and that should put us.
all right, Rami, you are gonna go through the Zoom call.
Sounds good.
Okay.
You just need
Right.
to let me into the Zoom meeting.
Oh, yeah, it'll be-
So I'm hoping that this will.
Hello?
We
Testing?
can hear you. Can you hear us?
For speaker now.
Can you hear us?
Oh,
Can you hear me, Tristan? Just give me a thumbs
I
up.
can hear you, yeah.
Okay. I think they may have turned their speakers off.
Yeah.
I just need to turn the speaker on my phone.
or
Turn yours off.
yeah, never mind. That was the wrong button.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, he can't even see me.
You can.
Can you hear us now? No, not yet. I haven't fixed it.
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Is your microphone?
I turned.
No.
Because when
It's
I
going-
turned it on, it
That's
started.
when you got the feedback. So you're going to, your microphone.
It's going to be on there. But I need to. You'll be able to hear and talk through that, but it's connected through Bluetooth through mine. So I just need to turn my speaker on. I think you need to admit me again. For some reason,
yeah.
it locked me out. Can you hear us? Can you talk again?
I can hear you.
Perfect.
Hey.
Nice.
Technology.
2 for 2 today.
Yay.
Play the lottery.
You're done for today.
Thank you for bearing with us there. I think we are finally ready to go now.
Where should we start? I give you a sort of update of where we are in terms of our progress. I know we're obviously behind schedule due to a series of circumstances. As a result, the town administrator is working on sort of extending the contract, which should be moving forward. We are continuing to work with the assumption that will all be resolved shortly. We have taken. It's a little difficult process to work through, but maybe I can show you how we've been doing this. I know the last time you met, unfortunately, I missed the Zoom link, but so you saw a piece of this, but it probably requires me walking you through it. Let me see if I'm going to send a request to share my screen.
Tim, you need to allow.
Yes. There we go.
Okay, so I'm going to share our sort of, this here is kind of, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we've sort of, as you all well know, based on these sort of 8 goals we've had for a while now, we clustered a series of strategies or recommendations into those goals. That was what was sent out in the fall for a public survey. We've had actually 188 responses, and we sort of have, based on the degree of enthusiasm for those responses, categorize them as high, medium, or low. Last December, January, we sent to the steering committee and asked them to sort of do the same. At a public meeting in December, we sort of had the same 105 recommendations, and they go from everything from housing to supporting farmers and farmland, encouraging small businesses, building upon natural open space, support community gathering spaces, optimizing use of municipal buildings and properties, and then school facilities funding opportunities, and finally, safe and resilient town infrastructure. Using these three kind of public engagement moments, both the survey, then the steering committee responses that were sent to us, and then the community engagement matrix, we sort of got a sense of where the community, whether it was a go or no go from the community's point of view. Here you'll see whether these are sort of budget, in terms of budget, whether they're high, low, high, medium, or low, and in terms of time frame, whether they're short-term, medium-term, or long-term. But then the consultants, we've been sort of working through together whether or not we feel that these ought to be strategies that are accepted. Obviously, if the community feels it's a strong keep, we usually feel the same way. There are times when the community was less enthusiastic, that we think it's worth revisiting, and based on our experience elsewhere, and I should say our collective experience, not just Over Under, but RKG and Innes Associates. So we've come up with a short list that's about half the size of the long list. That is what will, obviously there'll be sort of back and forth with this group as well as with the community, but these recommendations will essentially form the backbone of the draft master plan, and then finally the master plan. If I'm going to switch gears here for a second and see if I can go to another document I have open. Are there any questions about this before I go forward? About the methodology or
Rami, I had a quick question. In terms of like the strong, keep, review, reject, like what was the like criteria for having those results?
So the community is sort of an evaluation of, you'll see here, if there wasn't sort of strong support. So you can see here, right, anything above 60% is very high, 60 to 40, this is from the public survey, 60 to 40 is high, and then medium is 15 to 40, and then below 15 is low. We sort of did similar 0 to 3 on the steering committee, and then the engagement during the engagement we had set up a matrix of there were a series of cards, and we asked folks who came to the meeting to place them in one of the sort of 4 areas. Well, actually it was 9, sorry, from very critical and very important to not critical and not important. So things that were deemed somewhat important and somewhat critical sort of were in the middle of that 9 square, if that makes sense. So we sort of took these kind of as an amalgamation, and basically let's take this first one, for example. There wasn't a lot of enthusiasm for this, for the smaller houses to provide more affordable options. We kind of deemed that as a rejection from the community. But as consultants who've worked in similar communities in the Commonwealth, we think it's worth putting this back on the table. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes sense for that one. But then, so for the row underneath, if you could scroll left again, I'm just trying to understand. So what's the difference between reject and review? So it seems like there's reject, keep, and then review is undetermined, because that row is like medium, or not.
Them as sort of red light, yellow light, green light, right? And so red is no, green is yes, and the yellow is let's discuss.
So why would a let's discuss be less approved by the engagement matrix versus a reject, which is somewhat, like, it seems like it's that one that was rejected is more favorable than the one that is under consideration.
I can't tell you immediately. I'm wondering if it was sort of a higher medium, but I understand your question.
Okay.
In either case, for both of those, we feel that these are both worth including.
Rami, do you think it's also worth noting that we had a high bar for something to be reviewed or strong keeps? So the rejects are we set the standard high for something not to be a reject because we were trying to see how to reduce the total number of the strategies.
So are we able to see the numbers, the actual data that goes behind these classifications?
So the engagement
Yeah,
matrix,
on-
I was, oh, oops, I should do this. For the engagement matrix, I was there for doing that, and it was actually like, it didn't come with a numerical set, it was just a board, like a tic-tac-toe board of, not, or, what was it? Yeah, not important, moderately important, very important, critical, not critical.
So where did the percentages come from?
That first part was from a public survey.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I misunderstood what you were asking for.
Oh, that helps.
You're asking for these numbers in particular?
I was just following up on your question on looking at that first row in particular, how that one's rejected
Yep.
versus the other
Yeah.
ones. It doesn't really make sense to me.
I agree. It doesn't make sense to me either.
I understand your question. It's not embedded in this spreadsheet. The data that we got this from, I believe, is on the website, right? I think have we posted the third survey on the website yet, Tris? Let me see.
Yeah, we have, I think.
Well, I see community 2. Well, we'll get that up there shortly. And I understand your question with regards to this specific strat, like why is line 4 rejected, whereas line 5, which has less support from the community on a review. I think it's a fair question.
So is that
We'll
going to
go
be
back
like
and-
reviewed or explained at some point?
I beg your pardon?
Will that be like, are we going to review it for accuracy, or are we going to explain why it's different?
We'll do both.
Okay, great, thanks.
Are there any other questions regarding this spreadsheet or the methodology? And we could certainly go through each one of these 100 and 100 plus, but that may take a while.
I think just understanding more of how they were ranked, because not just within those first 2 rows, but the whole thing is sort of, I'm not understanding how the community no-go is, it doesn't make sense to me. Based on what's listed here. It very well could, and I just don't understand it. I'm just struggling to understand how he got.
Be helpful to see how many pick this versus
Yeah.
that.
Well, I think the data, like, so how many picked it and like what they picked makes those values. So like we'll have the assumption of those values are correct. We could assume that.
Right.
We could look into it if we wanted to. But then just like after they're already classified, like how is the go no go determined based off of those? Yeah. So it's like 2 separate things. But yeah, it doesn't seem to be consistent in terms of how the go no go is rated. So yeah, definitely would.
So I'm having a hard time hearing you, but if you can hear me, I'm going to try to summarize what I understand the concerns being. One is the transparency of how we arrived, or the clarity of how we arrived at the community amalgamation, and to make that clear. The second is to make sure that they're accurate using that methodology. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll do both of those things. And then, just so we're clear, you know, at the same time, while that is very important, there are times when we are in agreement with the community, and there are times when we think it's worth putting some things back on the table. In fact, we've accepted more things than the community, than this methodology would give us straight out of the community.
Have you shared this sheet with us, this updated one?
No.
Okay. 'Cause
We can do that. We'll
Yeah, because I'm trying to follow along, so it would be nice to be able to see the sheet on our end. It looks like I have an older one that didn't have those additional columns that you have there.
right, and there's a lot of sort of internal discussions back and forth
Okay.
between the consultant team that I'd want to scrub from this, just to, you know, so it doesn't color things one way or the other.
So Rami, is the idea to take the ones highlighted in green and that becomes the short list that you were talking about?
It is.
Okay.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Did you already
So
make,
as a,
have you already
I beg
made
your
that
pardon?
short list based on that, or would that be done after the review and kind of clarification?
So let us please, if you don't mind, we'll make those clarifications and make sure that we have the community methodology is clear and accurate, and then I think we'll be happy to share this. You know, let's call it 56 at the moment, the number of recommendations that we think are accepted will remain a topic of discussion with the community for the next few months as we move forward on the schedule. And maybe this would be a good time for me to move to that schedule, if that's all right, unless there are other questions on this particular spreadsheet.
At what point are you going to present us what things you're saying should move forward? Are you going to look over the data first and then we'll have that information? Because I still feel like I'm not understanding where we're at in the project.
So what I would like to do, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay. What I would like to do is sort of lock up a short list of recommendations by next week. Share that with this group. Start to create the draft master plan update out of that. Have a discussion with this group when you next meet, which hopefully will be in May, and then schedule a public meeting at that time. That would be sort of the first time to kind of show this work publicly to the general community. Meet with you again after that meeting. My goal here is to sort of have as much community engagement, both with yourselves and a community meeting before the schools are out and people sort of disperse for the summer, which would allow us to complete the final master plan update in the summer. The final piece of this effort is to present it at town meeting in November. So I am assuming there will be a few meetings back and forth with this group in the fall once we sort of are able to reconvene. But that's effectively the schedule moving. That's my proposed schedule moving forward.
I'm going to ask the question as a newbie to this process, Rami. This is Tony Scullenbrini. Why are we calling this a master plan update? Why don't we just call it a master plan and then put a date, for the town of Lunenburg as of, November, May, whatever date we want to pick, 2025, rather than it being something that's connected to the past. Now, once again, you may have had this conversation, and I apologize if this is a redundant question.
No, we haven't had this question, not with this community, and I think it's not our language. It was from the RFP at the very beginning, and some communities choose to characterize it as an update, and some as a master plan. Those who characterize it as a master plan update, I think the philosophy is that the master plan is a living document that is sort of ongoing and has existed for several iterations and will continue to exist after this update. So it's, as in my opinion, it's a way of seeing the document, whether it's a sort of moment in time or as part of a larger kind of effort from generation to generation, or it's a sort of standalone document.
I see your point.
I think.
Because I don't think we.
Go ahead.
I don't think we used the last master plan as a starting point for this, unless I'm incorrect. But I reviewed the last master plan in depth and presented it, and I don't think anything was really taken from that.
Yeah, I think that updating says you got a framework that you've been working from, and you're going to update that. But this plan has been so long in the coming, that the requirement for Massachusetts to have a plan once every 10 years, we blew that, and then we did do an update because we blew that 10-year time frame, and I'm almost, I think I'm almost leaning towards we just saying it's a master plan as of what date we want to associate with the publication and the discussion and some sort of a formal approval or buy-in to the plan. And then hopefully we'll have the discipline as a town to do what Massachusetts law says, do a master plan every 10 years. And then if we actually do that, then that could be an update. But I think that we're so far away from, what we had, that I think it's just going to confuse people. People are going to go, well, what are we updating?
I think we'd have to read the RFP to see what the language was.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, that's an issue. But I think that if the consultant says, we called it a master plan update because that's what you told us this document was going to be, and if you tell us that you want it to be something different, I don't think that's, there's not a lot of work there associated with changing master plan update to master plan.
No, I just want to check with the town administrator and see what they feel like. And I from our point of view, we don't. It's a. I don't want to say it's semantic, but it's not a large change, one way or the other.
I agree that you should talk to the new town manager. She and I had a brief conversation about the master plan, and she says, I was really excited, to come into the community because you are doing a master plan. So I'll be surprised if she says, oh no, we got to keep it as an update. Because I think she's saying this is kind of a new page for the town, and she's here as a new town administrator and really looking forward to having a plan that can guide her activities as town manager.
I think my phone dropped the call.
Oh no.
2 seconds ago. Not like no one. You're back. Sorry, Rami, the phone dropped for 15, 20 seconds.
Great.
But we're back.
Okay, so you're gonna talk to the town manager, get her feedback.
Yeah, we'll check in. I mean, if that's the feeling of the committee and there are no objections, I can't imagine this will be a stumbling block.
Would it be good to meet again though with the explanation of how we arrived to that short list?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
So you know how you're gonna go and look at the columns to clarify like how we arrived at review, reject, approve, and then provide that clarification to us. I guess how are we going to get that clarification? Unless we're gonna wait until May.
My hope was that we would get we get you a version of what I just showed you that had that embedded in it, the methodology, and had our kind of so that it's clear to you and that it's accurate. In other words, that my hope is that there should be no questions on your part, and you would be able to review that document at your leisure and so see clearly what, as a community, you've arrived at, whether or not the consultants agree with that or want to add some that you may have not included. And then when we would meet again in May, you'd sort of be armed and prepared to have a discussion, not about the process, but about the legitimacy or lack thereof of the specific recommendations. Does that make sense?
Okay, so we're hoping it's just clear to everybody when you send us the file, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and if it's not, we'll do it again. But my hope, I'm quite confident we can make that clear.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
I think given that we're sort of at the beginning of April, it may be slightly early, but worth thinking about the public meeting in June, sort of when that might be, just to make sure we're able to lock something in early enough and get a date that sort of is before school ends, for example.
So are we looking to figure out a date for the public meeting?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
You were discussing a public meeting in June, correct? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. I want to put on this committee's radar that I anticipate we're also going to have some public meetings surrounding MBTA communities coming up in that same vague time frame. So I would encourage you to look at locking down a date, because you're going to have competition on very similar type of thought process. And if you get a date in, that will help. I mean, that will help you make sure you have time. And for the MBTA communities, I can try scheduling enough padding around. We're going to be limited on timing there, but we can try scheduling enough padding so we're not placing everything on the same week or something.
Okay, thank you.
When does school end?
I can answer that.
I think it's June 16th or 17th.
June
Maybe
7th.
we did it too soon.
Who's counting?
Yeah.
What about June 11th?
Is that a Wednesday?
Yeah, the tentative one marked on here says June 10th, so we can do it somewhere around that.
June 10th is a Tuesday, so
Tuesdays
that might
are
be a
no-go.
select board.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
June 11th is
Fine.
It's Wednesday.
In addition to,
What was-
School committee meets on 2 Wednesdays a month.
in
I don't know if
addition
that would
to,
be-
in addition to the scheduling next month's meeting, Google poll, I'll send out another one for June to get a best idea of when most people are going to be available. And we will try and lock down a date as soon as possible.
I just think we need a little bit more information, having the data to talk about, so when we come to the
Yeah.
meeting, we can be prepared to talk.
My understanding, and Rami, correct me if I'm wrong here, you're going to go through your data, kind of trim down what you're looking at, give some explanations, then you'll send that over to us. We'll have a chance to review, and then we can discuss it at the next meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
That would be for May.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Excellent.
Which I hope will be in advance of this public meeting.
should be. Actually, it has to be.
Yeah. Well, what are we doing at the public meeting? What's the plan?
Testing the plan.
These are his.
We can't have a public meeting until we have a plan.
They're not necessary.
So, I mean, I would much prefer to have this committee's input on, can you hear me all right?
Yes.
I would prefer to have this committee's input on the recommendations before we go to a public meeting, so we sort of have at least vetted it through this group. Before that public meeting, we would then present it at the public meeting and get feedback one sort of last time from a wider group of people.
What should we or do we need to do, and this is kind of to everybody, to properly advertise so that we have attendance for that public meeting? Because the last public meeting we had, I don't think there were any members of the public.
But
It
we
was
need to
just-
go out now.
Yeah, it was just board members.
We need to be advertising it now.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah.
start. And I think we talked at the last meeting about some general ideas of how we could do that, both online and in person at businesses, the library,
Yeah.
CMAS,
sign.
Ego Hubs,
The crawl.
Boys and Girls
The
Club.
what?
all
The
that.
crawl,
Yeah.
unpack,
Okay, yes.
slides,
Yeah.
unpack, and the
And-
crawl.
And we're happy to provide, once we have the date and the time, we can provide the kind of graphics that get handed out, that get put on Facebook and whatnot. The truth of the matter is, we, even for the last one, we went to homecoming to kind of distribute flyers that may have been far too early, kind of in advance of the meeting. But the truth of the matter is, this group is the most effective kind of spreaders of information, and when you're on board, we've had very successful attendance.
I think the challenge was the last
Yeah,
meeting was
yeah.
in December,
Yeah.
and there was no meeting since May,
Yeah.
so no one really knew about it.
We were a little off track.
I think one of the challenges we have to overcome is people say, when I come up to them and say, will you take the survey? I already took the survey. And I took the second survey. And even possibly, I took a third survey. We really need to, when we advertise this, make
not a
sure
survey.
that they understand this is something new, this is something additional, this is something that they need to contribute to again, or for the first time. But make it clear that if they've already taken a survey, this is something different and something additional and something that they need to contribute to again.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we do that when we put forth the advertising, but it needs to be really clear, I think.
I think we need to tell people exactly what's going to happen, what we're doing, what we're
Right.
reviewing, not like, oh, come talk about this,
Right.
because that's not interesting to
I think
me.
we also need to say.
I've
this is
been
the
there, I
final
did
public
it.
hearing.
Yeah.
I did that, I've already been there.
Knowing it's the final one.
Right. Somehow to get that point across, because I think people are just writing it off. I did that.
I would propose that we sort of position it in one of two ways, that this is your first look at the draft of the plan, right? And because that's new, right? Up until now, we've been asking people what they think, and now we're sort of showing them, if you will,
Right.
what, at least in draft form, what will be. So that may pique interest. And then the other is what you were just suggesting, that this is the last time to kind of weigh in.
Right.
I also think it matters where the meeting is. I think we need to secure that sooner than later. And I know the first one that I attended was at Smokestack Roasters, and that was a very popular meeting. There was more people there than any other of the other meetings that I've been to. So I don't know how we do that or what we do to get a place, but someplace maybe a little more engaging might get people to come out and socialize and talk about it and listen. And
But is this
see
going to be
people
that
in.
kind of an event, or is this more of a presentation type event? I guess, Rami, that's a question for you. What's the format of this meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it'll be a little bit of a presentation and a lot of sort of breakout groups and discussions around the giving people time to react to some of the things we've presented. So Smokestack would be a good place to do, a good venue in that regard.
Alright, so you can reach out and contact Smokestack about using their location
And
again.
that might help determine the date too, because if we don't know if there's a certain time that's not available in June, then that could help narrow down some of the.
I'm looking at the calendar. The town doesn't have anything in June. You know, it only books things by the current month. But the town calendar, for June is wide open. And Matthew's already made a good point. We should put a stake in the ground for. The only thing I know that happens on June 12th is that APDC meeting, which I control. And we could schedule our meeting someplace else. And we have generally not had any conflict with other meetings when we meet on the second Tuesday of the month. So I would propose June 12th. And
So that's a
then
Thursday?
that's a Thursday, so we're now away from select board, we're now away from school committee, which is, one of the big time players. And I think that, from my experience in trying to follow what's been going on, the first wave of publicity should be to all of the various boards and committees, because those are populated by a lot of people. So if we walked out of this meeting tonight and said, we're going to have the first review of the master plan on June 12th, and we want you, the chair, to ask all of your members of your various boards and committees to come listen to this presentation and to be involved in reviewing the document. And then do the things like the Facebook. I think an ad in the Lunenburg Ledger is always valuable. The Lunenburg Ledger is the town newspaper, and people look at it for public notices, and I think that that's a good place for us to go. But I really feel like and the people that are on the committees and the people, that are engaged in town business, like us, we want to know what's going on, and I think that the master plan discussions will be important to that group of people. And the only group that I know right now that would have a conflict with June 12th is APDC. And for us, we'll work with that. So does that sound like a good target date? Now, got to go back to Smokestacks and say, does this work for you?
Yeah.
And then if they say, yep, we got to give them a date. And if they say no, then, we kind of reconvene and pick some different dates.
Sure.
So.
Tim,
Yes.
if you want to coordinate on that, we can have that conversation with JC at Smokestack together.
Sure.
Because I have some established relationship there, and I would love to request to abuse her community spirit for
Sure.
the MBTA communities things as well.
Okay.
So, if she can only do one, y'all have said you want it first. That's great, and we'll figure from there. But we can chat.
I mean, I can't think of another place that's so open to those kind of things. So that was the first one that popped into my head because we've done it there before. And they're just so good about helping out in community, and I don't know if
Yeah.
there's another place, if anyone has another suggestion.
I don't think there is another.
Yeah,
I think,
that's-
so maybe then what you're looking at is the cafeteria in one of the schools, you know,
Yeah.
where you can have a presentation, have chairs and tables for people to sit around and do a discussion.
I like the social aspect. of
Yeah, I do
Substack.
too.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
people go there.
Then you
to
get a cup of
convene
coffee,
and-
nothing
yeah,
else, you know.
to talk and work things through, and I see people working there all the time, and it's just a good community.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would, if I may ask the committee, do you mind if I just speak as part of this? It's not, I'm not a member of the committee, but I don't want to
Please.
overstep.
Please do.
No, that works well. The model of the town is at the library, and that can be another valuable venue as well. But you want to get there quick because the community rooms at the library, the various meeting rooms, do get booked quickly, if that ends up being another option you want to look at. And that happens to have the advantage of, like I said, the 3D town map for this process is there. If we also have to move it, that's not the end of the world. I'm always a little worried that once we move it out, they're gonna say, thanks, don't bring it back.
That's
But-
likely.
Again, I can help with, loop me in on this, and I'm happy,
Yeah.
especially where I'm in the office a lot right now. So I have the time dedicated.
Sure. Okay, excellent.
Once we pick the date, who's gonna send out the notices to all the boards and commissions?
Well, Ronnie said he would help with the advertising, so then
Well,
if we all kind of.
There's a master distribution list for the town, and maybe we'll have a town administrative assistant at that point in time, and do it that way. And then we just need to feed the information. It's at Smokestacks, it starts at 7 o'clock,
Sure.
this is the topic.
Yeah.
So, and then that'll
Yeah,
hit.
we're happy to help. We're happy to help with the messaging, both text and graphics, and as we have done in the past, sort of provide.
How do we buy ads in the Lunenburg Ledger? Do we do that? Does the town do that? Do we have a budget to pay for
That's a
that?
good
Or is that
question.
something that can be done by the contractor under his contract?
Don't believe we have dedicated budget for that, for this committee at this time. This is a subsection of planning. I don't know where the planning budget is on things right now. I will put that on my to-do list.
Thank you.
I mean, I can't imagine, if you ran it as a public notice, without the necessary boilerplate language associated with it being a public hearing, I mean, those ads in the Ledger aren't very expensive, no, so we gotta get that done. I think that's a place for the general public to learn about it. And then a Facebook page, entry. And We'll get all the cranky people there.
How do we put it on the sign?
On the high school message sign. Oh, and the sign out there.
That would be the one, but also, I know it used to be the building department that did that. I don't know who's doing it now, but I'm sure we can ask the town manager.
And then who manages the website?
Karen McCarthy in the town manager's office.
No, sorry, the steering committee
Oh,
website.
oh.
Sorry. The one
That,
is for us.
the planning website is managed by Over Under as part of the contract, so
Okay.
they
Yeah,
can
we
make
can put it on
updates.
there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that is, as you say, that is something that we, the Plan Lunenburg .org is a site that we manage. It's different than the town's master plan committee.
And you
right?
said
That
earlier
person.
in the meeting that you're going to get that updated with the most recent information.
Yeah, it's actually almost all there. The only thing missing is the results of community survey number 3. I'll sort of flip back to that. This is, so if you go to the updates, at the bottom of the updates page, can you see the screen? It's got all the sort of master plan steering committee meetings. I believe those are videos. The same with the public meetings 1 through 4. And then on the right-hand column are a series of things that have been created through this effort, whether it's results of surveys, the existing conditions report, the master plan goals and policy statement, materials that we put together for the various meetings, etc. So the only thing missing from this is community survey number 3, which we have as information, just have a package to and put it.
We are thinking at 7 o'clock, right?
So in the past, I think we started at 6:30.
6:30?
7. Yeah, we're open, to either. I think the consensus has been 6:30 start in the past, but if 7 is better, we'll do 7.
I can get more people if it's a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay, so the request is June 12th, 6:30 with smokestacks. Josie.
Who manages the Facebook government page for this site, for this committee?
Which
For the master plan steering committee Facebook page?
we have a Facebook page.
Might
Or
We do,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
be
It's like a,
me. I can check on that.
yeah, we'll definitely want to post on there as
Yeah, I
well,
was
and
gonna
then
say.
share the information using that page on the Facebook pages.
Sure.
And you could even make some of us admins to that group, and we would be able to post for you if you trusted us to do that.
I would
So that
100%
way
love
more
to not. If I am the mod for that page, I don't think I am, but I will double check.
I wonder if Josie.
Yeah, Josie might still have it.
Might have been Josie, yeah.
It might be something she messaged to me and got lost in the ether
Yeah.
because there's a lot going on in planning,
Yep.
roughly all the time right now. But I will, I can follow up on that. If I am the owner, I would love to not be the one responsible for
And
messaging.
I think it would be good to have a few of us, that way we can
Yeah.
post as needed and
Yeah. However
more,
that
it
works.
would, the more you post, the more people are gonna see it.
Yeah.
If you post, once a year, no one's gonna,
Yeah.
it's not gonna pop up in anyone's feed, so.
Do we want to have a backup option for if the 12th is not available at Smokestacks? Do we want to pick like a second date, or do we want to choose a different location?
I guess we could try for the library as a backup, maybe.
We could
If
try.
nobody had any other suggestions of like a more social someplace, but I love the library.
Is that the models there?
Yeah.
The library is good. It doesn't have quite as much space
Yeah.
for depending on what we hope or expect our turnout to be at. And I think Tony's right. The next kind of option from there is like one of the schools.
Yeah.
And doing like their cafeteria space or something of that nature.
The community room at the library has a good deal of space in it, just
Okay.
we couldn't use it last time because things were already scheduled there. There may already be something scheduled there, but we could.
Okay.
There is space available at the library
Yeah.
that's bigger and more open and has folding tables, chairs, etc.
So maybe a good backup location.
Yeah.
I wonder, since a lot of the recommendations in this letter are about like different areas of town and zoning and land, is there a way that we could like have an overlay on the town map just to kind of like visualize those different areas? Because I'm sure a lot of people don't really know what they are, unless it's already there.
I know Over Under had another map that they did a lot of that for our first one of our like actual board meetings. They had something of that nature with the different regions of town all mapped out.
That'd be good to have.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but some of you are coming in more clearly than others. I think, are you asking about putting names and sort of indicators on the model?
Something to that effect. You guys previously, at one of our very first meetings, you had like a map of the town that kind of laid out the different regions, like, you know, the business district, you know, these are residential, these were the historic town center. You had a map that was laid out like that, and I think we're wondering about trying to set that to the overlay for the 3D model.
Yeah, we can include that sort of thing. I mean, I've been sort of thinking about how best to do it. You know, is it a projection onto it? But that gets a little complicated if I can't control the space. But I think we can do something where we sort of have overlays on that top layer, even if they're simple markers, like downtown in this area.
Wait, are we talking about on the model or on maps?
Either one on the model might be good.
We can do either. I mean, the map is less complicated because we can just put it up separate from the model. If we were going to use the library, then I could imagine putting flags or things sort of on the top plexi layer that just sort of describe different parts of town.
Is it compatible with dry erase markers? Just a question.
Having worked with, is the top of that Lexan? I assume it is.
It's a sort of it's a plexi, so it'll take dry. It was designed so it will take dry erase markers, and we can write on it and then and remove it later.
I think it will still be important to have an actual map copy too for those that, you know, watch the meeting afterward, or, you know, being able to post it online. And, yeah. I like the idea of putting it on the model, but I think we should have the other version as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've made those maps, so that's easy enough to bring with us. So not a problem.
Could you share those with us if they're already ready with the committee now?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that question.
Are you able to share that with us with the committee? You just said you've already created those maps.
Is that something that we should, like, would it have been entered into public record? Should we already have that?
Yeah. Anything that gets brought up in a meeting is a public record.
I don't think we have any centralized document center.
I haven't seen anything besides that one link you sent.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be in a couple of places. It'll be in the existing conditions report. It'll be in probably the first presentation that we did. It should be, if not the first, it'll be in the second, but it'll definitely be in one of those and in the existing conditions report. But I can certainly send it separately.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful, especially because there's a lot of new members on the committee, myself included. Even though it's been a year, I still haven't seen anything besides that one link. So, if, you know, whatever you do have, if you could send, that might be helpful to have more productive meetings.
Sure.
The 12th of June is not going to work at the library. The community room, the Wallace Community Room, is partially available, and you can only hold 75 people if it's fully available. So I would say that that's probably not going to work. So if Smokestacks is not available, then we're probably talking about reaching out to the schools and doing it at one of the school cafeterias.
So we'll start with Smokestack.
Yeah.
If we can't do that, then we'll reach out to the school. If there's still a problem, then we'll figure out a new date.
Yeah.
And go through the list again.
Right. Well, you know, the only dates that the Wallace Room is available are Sundays and Fridays. And then there's, wait, I take that back. There's full availability on Monday the 23rd and Tuesday the 24th. We don't want to do it on a Tuesday because it's select board. You know, so we're looking at either doing it on a Sunday or a Monday or Fridays. And I don't think any of those are such good days.
Great days.
Yeah.
TCP has the gym too that you can rent, or for town committees you can use. That's another option.
I am forever an optimist, but just for reference, I think the largest group we've had at a public meeting is in Lunenburg is 42.
Yes. We do have a lot of community engagement right now, townwide, so I'm hopeful that we'll have a larger turnout, but
I think we will.
yeah, there's a lot of eyes on a lot of things right now.
Yeah, I think we'll have more than 42, and especially since we're producing we're having a discussion about a document that's actually going to say something, not just get input from people. And I think that'll drive a bigger crowd for this discussion. But I'm also an optimist that JC will make the building available for us on the 12th. So
Been pretty accommodating.
yes, she has
In
been.
the past.
Yeah. Okay, I think that the May meeting for us is really important.
Yeah.
We need to pick a date. And like, I can participate by Zoom, but I'm going to be out of the area in 1 week in May.
I will set up a poll for everybody tomorrow, and we can get an idea of whatever. Because if we try and dictate a date now, every time we try to dictate a date, it's not succeeded. So we'll set up a poll. We'll get everybody's input the rest of this week, and then have a date as soon as possible.
Thank goodness we can do Zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that they extended
Yeah.
remote participation.
Rami, are there any showstoppers for you in May that we should be aware of?
Well, I'm away on business basically the week after Memorial Day. So ideally it would be in the first 23 days of the month.
That's fine. Hopefully, ideally, we want to do it at the beginning of the month anyway.
Other than that, I'll make myself available.
I'll try and I'll do like the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
So we can get more of a condensed ideas.
Rami, for the website, what happens to the website after this is over in all of its contents?
Yeah, I mean, we think that it I believe the town is paying for the renewal every year or 2 years. I'll check on that. But the site itself is, and I strongly recommend keeping it moving after our involvement. In terms of putting new information on there, it's fairly straightforward. It's built to be pretty easy to use. I believe it's a Squarespace website, so it's the back end is very user friendly. I would say the answer to that will be should be tied closely to sort of what this committee becomes, or what this sort of descendant of this committee will be when we disband, and that's very much a part of the implementation phase of this project, which I'd like to speak to you all about either in May or in June after we meet with the community. But we've been doing sort of behind the scenes, thinking a lot about, is there a committee kind of when the master planning effort is coming to close, when the master plan is out there? Is there a committee that is sort of an offshoot of the one that you are all a part of, that is sort of tasked with kind of keeping up with the progress on the master plan, checking in with other committees? We have various examples of how regular, what frequency levels that is, but we strongly recommend that there is that sort of committee that, and they, in my opinion, would sort of own this website and own kind of the ability to update it moving forward.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a sort of long-winded way of saying we think that there's a life for this website after November.
That's fair. Yeah, I was just hoping it's going away and we won't access it. So
I think
No.
great.
I think the content of the plan, what it looks like and how it reads, should drive what a follow-on group should look like. And, one of the things that, in my planning experiences, one of the things that I've always tried to do is to connect the plan with operators. And so I think that, depending on what it looks like, should define who the operators are, and how many of those operators need to be meeting on a regular basis to say, oh, that's what the plan says we should be doing as an operator. And when I say operator, I'm talking about someone above and beyond just the planning board. I mean, clearly this should be like a Bible for the planning board. It should be your go-to document for decision-making processes. But it should also be a go-to document, if we talk about buildings. One of the things that, I have, what's driven my participation in this process has been discussion about town buildings. Because you want to do things at town buildings, you can't do them all at the same time because you can't afford it. And if you have a plan, then you get to pick and choose the prioritization in the process as to what you do with those buildings. So the operator there might be someone who's in the facility business, like a Chris Ruth kind of a guy, so that his actions are being driven by the plan and not just by what's the crisis for the day. So I think that those are good things for us to think about, Rami, but I don't think we're going to have any good chances of success until we actually see what the document looks like and what becomes the final wording for this master plan. And then we would get input from others to decide what those operators look like.
No, I agree, and that's why I'm bringing it up as a sort of a teaser for a subsequent meeting consideration.
Yeah, but the last thing I want to do, and I love your suggestion, Kim, that we have this website. The website becomes kind of the place to go to say, oh, what did the plan say we're supposed to do when we're dealing with a facility issue, or we're dealing with, a park issue, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and a good way to organize the information, I think, is important, because if we have it just in this written, like a document, that's this like 50-page long, thing, it's gonna get all lost. So there's some sort of visual, filterable
Yes.
system.
That is why we were big on having the website, for that explicit, to try to meet people in this process in media. So we have the option. Nothing's easy, nothing's free. But so we have the option of meeting people in a format they are more used to interacting with, as opposed to a 50-page book, which, that isn't the method by which we generally consume information most frequently anymore.
Right.
So we might need someone who's good with programming and websites.
Well, I think what he said was this website's pretty easy to put stuff into. And I think that it needs to be incorporated as a part of the task for the town's IT manager and the consultants that support the IT manager. And clearly, that might be a person who becomes one of the operators. It's going to periodically look at the plan and discuss what it says we should be doing at that point in time. But I think the great suggestion for us to start thinking about that stuff, Rami.
Yeah, and we've done things in the past where obviously you're going to want to sort of document the 50+ pages of whatnot, with all the hundreds of pages of appendices attached to it, and that's an important part of the record. But that's not the way people will come to the document. So we've done things where we take the key parts of that and make it legible. Website is one thing, but we've done, for example, I'll give you guidelines for small businesses to update their storefronts in a small town in a small city in Massachusetts. We created a PDF so that the whole thing is legible and intended to be read on your phone, right? So folks who are not going to print it, they're not going to sit it behind a desktop or laptop, but can you kind of digest the information on your phone in an easy to understand way? I could imagine a version of the master plan sitting in that way. So, if you really want the high level, here it is. It's on your phone. If you need more detail, then it sends you to a website where you have a much more fleshed out plan.
Rami, you think you'll be ready to, if we pick the date in the week of May 4th, you'll be ready to give us substantial information about what this plan's going to look like for our public discussion in June, correct?
Correct. And the other thing I hope to do at that meeting is sort of, have given you a few weeks to digest the recommendations in the sort of spreadsheet form, so you're coming to the meeting with opinions about the decisions we're recommending. Yes, no, let's discuss these particular ones. So both of those things I would hope we could do at our next meeting.
That all sounds really good. Does anybody else have any thoughts or ideas on where we're going from here? Otherwise, I'm just going to kind of do a quick pass through what we've discussed to make sure we're all on the same page, we're not missing anything. We're looking to get some clarification from over/under in the next few weeks. Then beginning of next month, we'll have our next meeting, shooting for June 12th, 6:30 at Smokestack for our public engagement. And then the school if not, and then change the date if not for that. We're looking to advertise firstly through the other boards, through the Lunenburg Ledger, the Pat Crawl and slides on there, the Ritter Building sign, potentially flyers for high traffic locations like the high school, the Adult Activity Center, maybe Hannaford's. I think they've got a community board that we can post to, and figuring out who's in charge of the Facebook page, and posting through that.
And getting the website updated with the info.
Website update and Facebook page. All right.
Potentially the high school sign too. I don't know
Yes.
if you said that.
Ritter
Sign
Buildings.
outside of the fire department too. They have that one that can be used.
Smart town signs. Town signs, Ritter Building, high school, fire station.
Who controls the fire station?
The fire department too.
So one of us would call him and say, June 12th, 6:30, Smokestacks.
Yeah.
So do we want to have like a timeline of like by this date we want to have a date and location confirmed so that Rami and his team can make the graphic.
Sure.
Then he can send it to us and then we can do the rest of it. So maybe like how long do we think it's going to take to get the smokestacks and everything confirmed?
Matt, you and I can get together. I'll talk with you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we can set out a date to give him a call.
I currently live here and rent a room at my house, so it will be fine. Yeah,
Okay, so a couple days. And
Yeah.
then we
By,
can,
by Monday,
Yeah.
we'll
We can
know,
try to
we'll-
shoot
we,
for that.
we will know what date we're having by
Yeah.
Monday.
and then we'll let Rami know as soon as we do, and then maybe by like a couple days after that, maybe Wednesday or next Wednesday or Thursday, we have the graphic. I don't know how long it takes to do that, so that we can start advertising this time next week.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that.
Town meeting? Maybe.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a.
Yeah, June was it May 3rd?
Have
Yeah,
flyers
third,
there.
we have something by then.
Rami, how long is the turnaround for your team to create the graphics and the messaging for us for the public meeting?
No time at all. A few days. We just need to know the time and place, and we can get going. In fact, we can get going before we know that, and we'll put those in as soon as we get there.
Great,
All
great.
right.
Yeah, we'll let you know Monday.
Sounds
Tim,
good.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be relying on you to reach out to me because my schedule is a little more flexible right now.
Okay.
And because, there's a lot.
Sure.
Okay,
I am going to set myself some reminders then.
great.
We
I-
talked about an email distribution list.
I was
Who's
gonna say,
be in
I
charge of that?
volunteer to do the following. Once we have the date, I volunteer to communicate with the town manager and her acting town administrator to get a message out to the town-wide board chairs, for,
Acting town administrator?
pardon me?
Act-
Well, not the acting town administrator, executive assistant.
Oh, the executive assistant,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, whoever that might, because Anne's, her last day
day was
is
si-
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah. So she's gotta have somebody in that job, at least on a temporary basis. She's not, the poor lady. All right, so I volunteer to do the internal town communication, and I will take on the town's electronic signs to get
Okay.
that information out
Do the town
to the
signs.
people that are responsible for that.
Is
Okay.
Annie the only one who can post to that distro, or could Logan post to that distro?
Anyone can, I believe, unless they've changed it. It's just a townwide distribution.
Oh,
It's an email alias.
great.
But I believe there's an approval process when you send it out, at least there used to be when I was a staff member, to post to that email alias. It goes to the town manager's office to approve it before it goes out, but I believe Logan could do it.
Well, let me talk to the town manager first.
Yeah, yeah.
And
but-
then we can decide, she and I can decide what's the best way to get this June 12th, 6:30 smokestacks information on that distribution list. And then, and I'll take care of like that sign out there and the sign down in the high school and the one up the street. I'll take care of those two.
How up to date is, if you go to Lunenburg Government, the website for our whole town, and it has all the boards and commissions, how up to date is that information? Is it up to date?
I think it's,
We know.
I think it's pretty
If
accurate.
it is, you
Yeah.
can just go to the chairperson
Yeah.
on each of the, as a last
Yeah.
resort.
Yeah. I don't think we'll have to do that.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
if.
As a last resort,
As a
I
last
could do
resort,
that, yeah.
You know, if they're all there and they're fairly up to date and it's just at Lunenburg, for the, I think their emails are even on there.
And I think they are too. So we got a way to communicate that.
Right,
this
I mean,
internal
if worse comes to worse.
Yeah, if worse comes to worse.
I can volunteer to be one of the people for the Facebook page, for the org group, for the committee.
I'm just marking down names for everything here then. So you're gonna contact the town manager
Yep.
and basically get word out to the other boards.
Yeah.
And deal with the town signs.
Yep.
Matt and I are going to call Smokestack. Matt's going to figure out who's in charge of the Facebook page, and then Kim, you're going to post for that. Over under, we'll deal with the website update and getting our flyers prepared. The two last items we have on here is contacting the Lunenburg Ledger and the pack crawl and slides.
And Matt was gonna see if we had budget for the.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, that's also on my,
Okay.
that's on my
Budgets.
to-do list.
Can we turn a light on?
I was
Yeah,
about to
it's
ask
just
if anyone
not the
minds.
things are, yeah.
It's getting kind of.
I
And I assumed it was for the projector, but
It was.
I can't see anybody anymore.
I can get in touch with Pat,
Okay.
as soon as we have the materials.
Sure. Yes. And
Whoa.
whoa.
Maybe just the one, because then we can still see the screen now.
You're just going to be using the flyers
Yes.
that Over Under creates. Okay.
Well, they actually make a slide.
Okay.
I'll talk to them.
Okay. That.
Are you gonna ask about the budget and reach out to the ledger, or just the budget part?
I was just going to do the budget part
Okay,
because I
that's fair. I didn't
I can
expect
reach
you
out-
to do both, but I just
Yeah, I
wanted
can
to
reach
no,
out to the
that
ledger
was-
once
yeah.
you confirm. Now,
Yeah.
if you want to let me know, I can reach them
sure,
out to them.
absolutely.
Josie's one of the members. Okay. You need to reach out.
I can also do a Facebook posting, but I can, once we get the flyers and things like that, it can be like soccer practice and, Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, sure,
Some
yeah.
other community places. Involved.
Well, I mean, to make sure that we communicate exactly what this meeting is gonna look like, can you draft, like a little blurb, but 2-3 line that says, you are invited, and then describe what the invitation is. And then I'll use that as a cut and paste item for the email that goes out to, internal sources. And we could use that as kind of cut and paste for Facebook and, announcements. So we're consistent with saying what's gonna happen when we do this.
They will be able to give us a graphic with it as well that will have the text. So
Yeah.
we'll be able to put that in
Yeah.
and get something real eye-catching in people's inboxes.
And cohesive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they gave us all of that.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And as we progress in any of these areas, we're just gonna get a mass email for all of us on the,
We can only communicate through
Right.
the chair.
so, right, so
Oh,
you're
is that how
gonna
it?
send
Yeah.
us like
Or the
updates
vice
as-
chair.
They
We
can
don't have a
give
vice chair.
they can give you status updates.
Okay, and then
You
I-
can disseminate status updates. The group cannot discuss
Right.
updates, but that way
But he-
for information purposes is
Yeah.
allowed, just no
back and forth with
deliberation.
us. So he
Yeah.
can send an email to all of us letting us know that Smokestack confirmed that we can
Right.
go on
So-
the 12th, and
Planning and admin.
You can-
we discussed.
Yeah,
you can tell him if the ledger is able to, if we have a budget, like that kind of thing. And
yes.
that- So just so we're all on the same page come that meeting, since we're not gonna really talk before then about where we're at.
Who do I need to contact to update the board's email list? Because I'm currently just like deleting names out and adding names in and forgetting names.
I
Kara
was just-
McCarthy.
I was just gonna
Okay.
ask you that. We have a quorum with 6, so
Yeah.
clearly we don't have 15 members anymore that I keep seeing on this list.
12.
Or 12 or whatever.
We have 12 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So could we get an updated
Yeah,
list of who is actually on this committee?
I did send that in. I gave them an updated list. I don't know why that hasn't been reflected on the town website yet.
Okay.
Who's them? Town manager's office?
I don't remember. It was like
Okay, I
town
just didn't
clerk
remember.
and maybe it was Heidi. No, that's not right.
I didn't
If
know.
you send it to
Yeah.
Kara, she's pretty good about
Yeah,
that.
Kara's great.
She
Okay.
updates stuff almost immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's the one that manages the town website.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I know there was a problem with not everybody was sworn in. Did everyone do that?
I did that last June.
You only have to do it once.
Yeah.
Yeah. For your committee.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay.
You're not technically a member if you're not sworn in.
Yeah.
You definitely
Gotcha.
gotta do that.
Yeah. I think like everybody but 2 was.
I-
So we made improvement.
Do you need to be sworn in if you are? I'm only thinking of things like Economic Development Committee. I never had to do a separate swearing.
I had to get
Yeah,
sworn
you
in.
do.
Then probably did, and I forgot because I'm not very smart. I'm gonna be honest. Like
Yeah, you do.
I look pretty.
know I had to either, so.
Like
You have to be sworn in on each committee?
Yes.
I thought you had to just be sworn
Every
in, so
time.
that
You gotta
you
sign
can
the
take
book with the committee.
the training,
Another quorum.
certificate training from Massachusetts.
The conflict of interest one.
Yeah, no, you gotta be sworn in for each committee.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's sworn into the stormwater task force. That might be maybe another.
If someone finds out differently, let us know. That'd be good to know.
I'm gonna talk to
Yeah, I
Linda
was told I had to.
I've
I'm gonna
been
talk,
there last
I'm gonna,
year,
cause
so,
I'm not
like,
sure,
when I joined planning board 5
I was
years
cause
ago,
Yeah.
so-
she's
Oh,
pretty
I
good
was-
about,
Ellen was all over me when I got there.
she's pretty good about that. I'll talk to Ellen tomorrow. And I'll let the group know, you know. If you have swearing in responsibilities by committee, then I have to go do that, you have to go do that.
You do,
But,
you do.
all right, so then we'll have to go do that, that haven't done it so far. Okay.
Alright. No sign of Mike, unfortunately. So we can't ask any questions of the finance committee, but we'll keep that on the agenda and we will do that next time. I have his email, so he's going to be part of the poll to make sure he's available for the next meeting.
Does that have to do with the budget column?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious how that was determined also.
Yeah.
Yeah. The budget column. This is like low, medium, high.
Yes.
For the budget parts, because I know there's a lot of grants and whatnot available for various things, is that information included in budget information?
I'm not sure. That is a good question. I will notate that down for the next agenda.
I meant for like the spreadsheet for this as well.
The spreadsheet was effectively, the rankings were very lightly, and Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm enjoying being able to work from memory on this one. Think of it like orders of magnitude. Like, you know, like there's a difference between we're going to do a zoning amendment and the effective cost is actually a little bit of lawyer fee and some and the ad fee for public hearings versus we want to replace the sidewalks through all of downtown.
Yeah. Okay, so it's just relative.
That's correct. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear the initial question, but based on your response, I understand the question to be about the relative costs of low, medium, high, and it is sort of an order of magnitude. We have kind of brackets. I'm trying to remember what they are at the moment, but sort of under 50,000, between 1,500 and above, something like that. It's based on a methodology we've used in the past. It's not a accurate figure. It's just a kind of rough ballpark. I would be very hesitant to put figures on anything at the moment, given the uncertainty.
Yeah, that's fair. It makes sense.
Of everything.
For the different items, is there, and I don't know if you missed this part, kind of an indication on like grants available or not, because that could impact budget.
There are, to the best of our abilities, to our collective abilities, there are, and sort of at the end of each of those, and I don't know if it's in the one that I showed you today, but so we have a kind of grand one that has notes at the end of it as to possible sources of funding,
Yeah.
and whether or not, and that includes grants.
Yeah, that would be great.
When
Rumor has
when,
it we are adding grant writer back into the town budget, so that would be good.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to address or add to the meeting?
I have something that I'd like to see on the website, but it might not. It's just like a nice to have. Slash, I'm not sure how time consuming it would be. Under each of the recordings for it was like the meetings. I wonder if there's a way that you could use like AI or something to just have like a brief synopsis of like what happened at that meeting. So like if someone's going to look at those, you can be like, hey, this is what happened at that meeting, and instead of like having to go into each one and figure it out.
What level of detail are you looking for on that? Correct?
Yeah.
Like, are you talking about a one paragraph about one page, or blow by blow minutes?
Not minutes. I would just say like purpose, outcome, and then like significant things that happened. You know, just if you were to like be like, oh, we had all these meetings, and you can say, oh, this is what happened at this one. That's what happened at that one. Like not something big, just that fits on that page. That's like just some helpful piece of information. Because if we want to go back and ever look at them, it'd be easier to just say, yep, this is what we did here. It was just a nice to have.
Are you referring to the public meetings or the community meetings or the master plan committee meetings?
Just the public meetings.
I think that's pretty easy. We could do that relatively quickly. Sort of very high level of
Yeah.
what transpired at that meeting.
Yeah, I think that would be a good value add, especially for, long term, if we're gonna maintain the website.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Are we, as a committee, a town committee, not required to have minutes?
No, we're required.
No, we're required.
We
minutes.
are,
So, I don't think we have.
Well, we do now because Zoom is using AI to create a running account.
Only if that is turned on at the beginning of the meeting, and you have to request that when you request the meeting.
I actually, we'll look and see, but I think that they're setting them all up that way now.
Okay.
They're setting them up so you have to replace it.
Yes.
Still have to replace it.
Yeah, it's like
Any
a
meeting
pilot.
can, but we have to ask for it as an active ask, not passive.
yeah, and we didn't ask for it for this meeting.
I'm going to apologize, everyone. I tried to join you as long as I could tonight, but I have to get across the street for the end of the scout meeting. And if anyone happens to know where the heck I left my backpack, maybe I left it somewhere else in the planning office. Oh yeah, no, the place I put it would be where I left it.
Just so for committee org, do we have chair, vice chair, and
We can't take votes until the people are sworn in. They won't be.
yeah, no, that's fair.
But at the last meeting, I thought we already decided, didn't we already have
Yeah.
a chair, a secretary, nobody was.
Is it a clerk? So we nominated a chair and then nominated a clerk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, who was the clerk?
Reed, Jerry Reed.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, he was on.
Now, see, I'm looking, I don't see minutes posted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
we're,
don't think
we're probably gonna have to retake that vote anyway for the nominations.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it would be, generally, it's the clerk's responsibility to take the meeting minutes
Right.
and get them sent out for review, and then once they're approved in a subsequent meeting,
Right.
send them to Ellen. Yeah,
Right, I'm just
we don't have
not
any.
seeing minutes ever.
There
Oh, yeah.
was,
No,
There
we-
were for
We
a
didn't have
while.
we didn't have a clerk.
so there are minutes back when Josie was the chair. We recorded the meetings and somebody transcribed it and took notes. Those do exist. We never reviewed and
We have
approved them
never
in
approved
meetings.
them.
Right,
Any,
so there's,
any minutes ever.
no. So we need to come back up to speed on
That's when
reviewing
they're
the
not,
minutes.
they're not ever posted. They've never been posted because they've never been approved.
But we have a majority of them we have available. We just need to review them and approve them.
I
if
can
we
speak with
approve
the town
them.
manager and see if there's any bandwidth or if there's a suggestion on what we should do.
Because the people that were at those meetings not necessarily with the people around the committee now.
Where are they all recorded?
They're in an email and Word documents.
No, I mean the meetings where all of the master plan steering committees meetings recorded.
To get the minutes, they had to have recorded them. They were in the town hall, so.
So they should be on YouTube, and in theory we could go back and recreate them. This board can still vote on it, even if we weren't on the meetings.
They can?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I learned that as a select board member, because we're still
Oh, okay.
voting on
I didn't know that.
minutes that I wasn't a member of.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We can-
And then what happens if the clerk isn't here?
Someone else needs to take the
Just
minutes.
doesn't matter. Just
I mean, if we really wanted to, I think we could just, I don't know if there's a law against using a recording to take and use AI. I mean, but it's not like best practice, I would say, like we wanted to do it ourselves. But someone would have to do it. And the level of detail is obviously varies per person.
I don't think we had this on our agenda, so I think we should put this on an agenda item for next time, just to stay within that. We should probably put a formal reorganization vote on there as well. And then maybe we can consider splitting up the previous minutes between the committee to not put the burden on one person. I don't know if,
I think it came up a lot of times on the agenda and it just never.
I don't think we really have like, a lot of meetings though to have that opportunity. So I don't think we have many meetings that we don't have minutes for because we just didn't have them. We didn't have meetings, a quorum.
right,
Yeah. So we'll get that sorted. Oh, is it locked?
Yeah, I don't think I got a warning. I just got an immediate shutdown.
I didn't.
Oh, great.
Well, Rami can still hear us, so Rami, we're still on the line, but the
Oh, sure.
Zoom is just, the screen's just restarting on the computer.
But I think we're pretty much wrapped up, right? Is he still connected to your phone?
Rami, can you still hear us?
No, because it probably dropped the entire Zoom call.
Sorry, I'm here.
Oh, he's here.
I'm just having
We're still
a
on
little
mine.
trouble hearing you, Kim.
Yeah, no, the computer is just restarting, but you're still connected audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can volunteer to take the minutes for this meeting. I don't have much bandwidth to take on the back meetings, but at least if we can do our current ones, that's something that's better than nothing, so.
Yeah, and I can help do past ones. But yeah, we can put that on the agenda for.
Yeah, if you could add those two
Yeah,
things to the agenda.
absolutely. So I've got formal reorganization votes and addressing our minutes for the next agenda. Right.
And I sent the email to Ellen and Kathy asking about the swearing in
I
to
confirmed
confirm
with-
that. What?
I asked Jen as well while we were sitting here. She did confirm that we need to, the town manager,
Okay,
we do need to get sworn in.
okay. All right, so we all gotta go by and get sworn in.
Okay. Well, I don't have control of the Zoom meeting at the moment. We do have. Does
We're
it
still
say if it's-
recording audio.
It is still recording? Okay, great.
It is recording.
At least we have that then. All right, if that's the case, then if this doesn't come up, it's fine. We're still have a recorded document. Okay, we've got our plan going forward for setting up our next meeting, our next town engagement meeting. We've got items for the next agenda. We've all got some assignments going forward. Yeah. Does anybody else have anything they would like to address at this point?
No, this was very productive.
Yeah, good meeting. Although, I'm guessing, so we can't do votes? Okay, so I just we say the meeting's over, and that's the end.
We can vote to close it. I mean,
Oh,
just
okay.
to
Someone has to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll take a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you for your time, Rami.